I asked my podcast partner, Jen Akins, to pound the table for a committee running back this week. Jen, who you pounded the table for?
This week, I'm going Antonio Gibson.
Ooh.
I love Antonio Gibson. All of a sudden, it's funny. I don't know. But I think this year, you got Eric Bieniemy in the mix. He's going to use him more in the pass game like he did Jerick McKinnon. He's a 10th rounder. I mean, let's go.
Super talented kid. Also, all the Brian Robinson scuttlebutt out there isn't positive so far.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm with you. All right, you heard it from Jen. Go get you some Antonio Gibson. Now let's get to the show. Welcome, everyone, to the Most Accurate Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Niles. With me is my excellent co-host, the incomparable Jen Akins. Jen, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing wonderful today. I am excited. My town of Denver is possibly on the precipice of the first ever NBA championship.
Exciting.
I say that, but it may not happen. Right now, the game is on to my right. So if you see me do this a lot, that's what's happening. However, I will be full on in. I'm ready to talk running backs. It is summer. It is, really no complaints here. How about you?
It's good. Everything is coming up, Jen. It's awesome. No, it's I'm happy. Weather's been good here. It's been nice. We get to talk running backs and murky running back situations this week. That's what we want to go through some of those teams. So I like the idea that we're going to be able to make some sense of all these murky situations. That's what I'm all about, or at least try to. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. Let's start with Dalvin Cook, because it's apropos that our big news story is going to involve murky running back situations, or unmurky, or whatever we want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Dalvin Cook released by the Minnesota Vikings. We had heard rumors for months about him being on the trade block. Supposedly now, and this is all just Twitter scuttlebutt that I've heard, but supposedly the trade couldn't happen because Dalvin Cook wouldn't back off his financial demands in order to facilitate the trade, which I don't think Dalvin Cook is under any obligation to do so. So good on him. And the reason he's not with a new team supposedly is because he has salary demands. And I understand the idea of being patient. So there's really no rush for Dalvin Cook to go out there and sign a sweetheart deal with whatever team he's interested in at this time. So we'll see where he lands. But my first question for you, Jen, is Alexander Mattison. Is this all that it's cracked up to be? Because obviously his ADP is going sky high now, and people are very bullish on this kid.
I don't know. He scares me a little bit, right? I mean, we've had decent sample sizes, and he has shown up, but it depends on really where it lands. I'm not sure exactly where it is right now. I saw him go. I've seen him go in the 3rd round. I've seen him go in the 4th round. It's a little bit scary as we get higher up. I mean, this offense is known for being run heavy. So, I understand the excitement of him earning that backfield and earning that starting spot. Let's see. Right now, his ADP is 65.7 as of right now.
Went up a whole round in the last.
It's gone up 11.7 spots in a week. So, yeah, it's a little scary for me, but I do like him. Like I was telling you before we started the show, I'm not opposed to some Dwayne McBride in the 18th round either. In case Madison goes down, or we have to kind of see what the game plan is there without Dalvin Cook, and what they're going to do, if they're going to go a little less run first, run heavy, or if they're going to continue to just roll with Alexander Mattison in that same role that Cook had. Is he going to get the passing work? I mean, is Madison, because Cook was really good. And in fact, he was one of the reasons that Kirk Cousins is really good, in that play action situation. So I don't know. I think he is very rich, but it's one of those things that it could absolutely pay off, or he could end up, underneath that next tier of guys where he really should be, but we shall see. I mean, I know you have strong feelings.
I kind of think though, first off, I don't understand why Minnesota cut him this year. I feel like you could have gone one more year, and because the cap savings that you're going to get right now, they're not going to fill any slot with that. Like, they're going to re-sign their own next year with money that's going to be tacked on later. So it had to be a relationship thing. There had to be a situation where the relationship had deteriorated enough to the point where he needed and wanted to be out of there. So, because I think he's still a productive player. If you look at his efficiency statistics, they have dropped over the past 2 seasons, kind of peaked in 2020. Then the last 2 seasons, the efficiency stats have dropped. He's still really good, still a very good player. Like you said, he does everything. He passes, or he catches passes well. He runs the ball well. And so I
he
think
may even pass. We don't know.
He may pass. Yeah, he might do it. Dalvin Cook cooks. We know that. So
does his brother. You know, I love him.
I absolutely stole that line from you talking about James Cook. So just so, so credit where credit's due. I think he's going to land somewhere, and it's probably going to cause more murk. So at some point, we're going to have an asterisk here. But
I feel like there's not a lot of spots where it's not going to like break the fantasy hearts of, you know, like there aren't really that many spots. Every single place he's going to land is probably going to be brutal. I mean, I think, you know, do we want to talk about landing spots? Are we doing that?
We can. One thing I'm going to say is Dalvin Cook, I just got him in the 7th round, and I feel like that's a little too far to let him slide in drafts right now, because he will land somewhere and he will be going somewhere to get a significant workload. And so if he's going in the 7th round, he's being drafted around some big time question marks. And I just don't think he belongs in that category.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's interesting though. I think people are just they're nervous because they don't know where he's going to go and what kind of havoc he's going to wreak on the backfield of wherever he goes. Yeah. Where I don't know if that ADP is people thinking that he's going to end up in a complementary role somewhere as opposed to a lead back role somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess that's got to be it. But, you know, if he lands in Miami, he's going to be the guy. I mean, sure, we're going to see Mostert. Jeff Wilson probably gets relegated completely to a backup role. Devon Achane might still get some change of pace work, but we might be looking more 2024 for Achane in that situation. And I know that's one of the spots that he's most rumored. Is there a spot you'd like him to land?
You know, I kind of would like to see him here in Denver.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, at least in the beginning of the year, we're looking at, you know, Samaje Perine. And I think that, you know, with Latavius Murray gone and Javonte Williams hurt, I mean, I think he could stroll right into a really good, you know, a good spot here. So I'd like to see him here. You know, I feel like we said, there aren't that many other places that he could walk right in and be the lead back. There's just, you know, like you said, Miami. I mean, there's a few other spots, but everywhere else, there's already Murk at the top with people, you know, and we're going to get into that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to some of those murky situations. Also, our friend Halal Chami is cursing the heavens right now for you even putting Denver in the conversation, because we all know he loves him some Samaje Perine this year.
Listen, I like Perine too, and he's cheap, and you know he's great. But you know, as a part-time Bronco fan, I would like to see him here a little bit. Yeah. I feel like, you know, and for fantasy purposes too. I mean, Samaje Perine, let's be real. Like, he's in a good spot where he is being drafted and all of that, but he's not going to be like he's not a top 5 running back. Yeah. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, so. You're 100% correct. Jake from State Farm, thanks for joining us. Jake has Josh Allen and Trey Lance in a 1-quarterback startup league. What do we think about Hendon Hooker long term? I like Hendon Hooker long term. I think he's a lottery ticket. I think he's just as likely to never see the field as he is to develop into a starter. If you have a nice taxi squad spot that you can stash him on, then I'm a fan. If you're taking him in the late 2nd, 3rd round of a rookie mock, or of a rookie draft, then I like it. If you're investing too much more than that, or investing some actual assets, or even a roster spot in a 1-quarterback league, I think it's probably not worthwhile. So thanks for listening, though. That's my thoughts on Hendon Hooker right now and his dynasty value. So we could do a lot of different teams here. I've kind of separated the teams into very murky situations, and not murk, but the pond needs skimming, right? Situations where, we kind of have an idea, but we're not certainly, 100% on what's going on. So let's start with my favorite spot. I want to start with the Bears, because they have 3 running backs who I like. I like all 3 of them, Jen. I'm drafting all 3 of them, and I'm going to be bitterly disappointed and ecstatic by some outcome of this situation. So with the Bears, what are you buying?
First of all, no love for the 4th, Travis Homer. No love there. Only 3.
I waited long enough for Travis Homer.
So this is no, I hear you. This is difficult, because you've got they're going to probably do a 2-back system, right? I mean, there's not going to be a lead back here. The Merc is going to stay the Merc, but they're going to have a 2-back system. Herbert should be the number one guy. Right now he's actually ranked right where he's being drafted. So in 444 rankings, he's 39 and he is RB 40 on Underdog right now as an 11th rounder. I'm down. I mean, I think a lot of people for some reason are scared off of him, I think, because of first when they signed D'Onta Foreman and then, they drafted Roschon Johnson. So I'm down with Herbert. Foreman, he's on a 1-year prove it deal. So, right now he's ranked as RB 58. His ADP is RB 51. He's a 14th rounder. And then Johnson is actually, John Paulson for some reason has him a lot lower. Johnson, he has as RB 60. He is being drafted as RB 47 in the 13th round. So John doesn't see the rookie getting as much work. I mean, I like him. He prospect wise, people really, really liked him coming out into the NFL. So, it's one of those things. I feel like whoever's going to protect Fields the best in training camp is going to win the job. But I will say this, we originally were going to do this topic 2 weeks ago. So I did all the research 2 weeks ago. Then when I went to do it again this morning, I noticed, a lot of shift in just 2 weeks. But I will say that all Chicago running backs fell in the last 2 weeks. So all of them fell in ADP. I did forget to mention Travis Homer just because I did mention him, but I mean he's an 18th rounder right now. His ADP, he is RB 131. John has him ranked 87 though. So
nice.
He's in the conversation. He has a seat at the table, if you will.
With running back attrition, it never hurts to keep an eye on those RB4s on a team.
It's in best ball. In redraft, you're not drafting Homer in best ball. You're probably not. I don't know. And I mean, in redraft, that's where it gets tricky. Like in redraft, I may just skip this backfield altogether. We're talking best ball when it comes to, committees and all this stuff, but straight up redraft where you're only starting, say 2 running backs a week and then the rest on your bench. I mean, maybe roll the dice with Herbert or Johnson, but I might skip this altogether in redraft.
I think that's very fair. I think in a PPR league, D'Onta Foreman becomes less interesting, but in a standard league or even a half PPR league, I think D'Onta Foreman in a redraft, I think we're going to see him get 8 to 10 touches. I think it's just going to be early down work and kind of the work that he did there. I think that the Bears want to run a 2-back system. And right now they have Khalil Herbert running with the ones in practice take that for whatever it means. What I take from that is Khalil Herbert is healthy after being hurt last year. So that's a good sign for me. Herbert is a dynamic player who does everything pretty well and has had some success already. So I'm buying Herbert at his cost. I don't think he's going to be a top 12 back, but I think he's going to put up RB2 numbers more often than not. And I think he's going to be, in that RB20 range each week. And so if you're drafting him as the RB39, which is where he's going, I think that's going to be good value. Somebody in that backfield is going to be the guy, at least to some extent, like David Montgomery was. And the other guy might still have a little value too. Roschon, we all love Roschon, right? We all love him as a prospect. Bijan Robinson says he would draft Roschon Johnson on his fantasy team. We all love it, right? However, not a lot of draft capital there. He's walking into the 3rd running back situation, and it's very on brand for John Paulson to rank a guy like that pretty low. And usually he's right. We all get really excited about rookies, and I'm definitely taking a stab at him in best ball, but I'm not going to assume that he's going to make a redraft impact. That's kind of where I am with Roschon. So I kind of get John's ranking.
Yeah, I think another thing I wanted to point out as you were talking, it hit me. It's like, okay, I kind of understand why, like you were saying, Herbert could potentially be an RB2 for the price of an RB4. I think a lot of people just look at the offense immediately like Fields runs, discount running backs. And that's what happens. So I think people don't realize that they are going to, do some designed run plays. They really will.
Occasionally.
Yeah. So, those guys are in play.
And Herbert's an able pass catcher in a way that D'Onta Foreman is not a threat to him in that way. So maybe Roschon Johnson becomes a threat in that way, but it seems like Herbert's got the leg up on the depth chart. So I do think we could see him in that 50 target range, which will give him that little added burst. So I love all these guys, though. Foreman is such a great story, right? Coming, all those catastrophic injuries labeled a bust, and then he fills in for Henry and does well, and then he fills in for McCaffrey and does well. And then Herbert, I've always liked, 5th round guy comes in and plays really well. He was one of the few guys that I really liked at the running back position pre-draft. It panned out. Most of the time, I like running back isn't my hit rate with drafts. I'm good with corners.
If you
I'm good
love
with
those rookie running backs, you
I
take them
do.
no matter
love
what.
them. I love them. But there's always some Michael P. Ryan on day 3 that I love and just ends up doing nothing. So ends up being the way that goes. Let's go to Buffalo because the Buffalo Bills, they've got your
Shuffle
boy
off to
James Cook,
Buffalo.
right? So what was that?
Shuffle off to Buffalo.
I love it. We shuffle off to Buffalo.
Isn't that a song or a movie or something?
It should be if it's not.
No, it is. My dad used to say it. It's a something.
Okay.
It's an old, it's like an old song or an old movie or something.
I like it. I like it. We can shuffle off to Buffalo.
Yeah,
like that.
That's what we're doing.
So we've got your boy James Cook there, and then they bring in Damian Harris. So there's a lot of questions about how that backfield is going to break down. Can James Cook assume a lead role? What kind of situation are you expecting in Buffalo?
Well, I want James Cook to be the guy. I mean, he's got, he's got really good receiving chops. He's got an explosive skill set, but it's Buffalo and they don't really use running backs, the way we'd like them to for fantasy purposes. But I do like James Cook. And right now he's right on the 8th, 9th turn. He's, John has him as RB 40. He's being drafted as RB 30. Damian Harris, he's fine, right? He's coming off kind of an injury-riddled season. He's fine in standard leagues. I wouldn't take Damian Harris in a PPR league. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to get his share of, rushing work. He's a 10th rounder right now. His ADP is RB 38. John has him as RB 41. I'm okay with him, like I said, in standard. And I like Cook, but I feel like neither of them are really more than an RB3. I don't think we can count, on anything more than a fantasy RB3 on either of them. And then you've got Nyheim Hines, poor Nyheim Hines. I've wanted him to be that, PPR darling, and he's had moments of it, but yeah, I just don't see, I don't see him more than an 18th round flyer at this point in case one of those guys goes down. Because you also have Latavius Murray, who, I think he's kind of the direct insurance replacement for Harris, right? He's the big back guy. Last year, he had 171 carries for 760 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns between New Orleans and Denver. So
not bad.
We can't count out Latavius. We counted him out last year, and we shouldn't have. So he's there as well. I feel like he's kind of the replacement for Harris or the direct backup, as the big guy there. But, it's one of those things. I don't think any Buffalo running back is going to be a huge fantasy, but I think they're appropriately priced. I mean, James Cook, as an RB3, and I mean, he might be a little rich in the 8th, 9th round, but I'm still taking him.
Is that a Dalvin Cook spot?
Buffalo? Oh, Lord. I mean, I guess. Yeah. I hope not, because that's pretty freaking murky already. I hope that they don't. I mean, I can't imagine. That would be cool, though, for the brothers to be able to play together again.
From a football perspective and a story perspective, it's cool. But yeah, fantasy.
I'm sure they played together plenty in their childhood on little league teams and whatnot. So that would be pretty cool. But I guess it could. I mean, honestly, we can't rule out any spot at this point for Dalvin Cook. I mean, I guess salary cap wise, and we could, if we actually looked into the numbers. I'm sure there's teams that legit cannot bring him on, but I guess he could go there. I don't want him to go there, though.
There's all kinds of places that make a lot of sense to me, but I don't want to go for fantasy purposes. All my Rashaad White shares don't want him in Tampa, but he makes so much sense in Tampa.
He does make sense there, and I don't want him there either because I have plenty of Rashaad White. And I also, agree.
One thing I wanted to mention, Nyheim Hines probably going to win both return jobs. He came over to kind of seize that role immediately when he got to Buffalo last year and thrived in that role. So unfortunately, I think you're right. We're not going to see him offensively very much, but I do think his roster spot is safe because he adds so much in the return game. So let's talk about our team, the Miami Dolphins. I know you split your fandom now, but it's still
I'm definitely a Dolphin fan forever and ever, from the womb till now. A lot of murk there. Like we mentioned a little bit when you said Dalvin Cook could show up there, but there's a lot. I mean, they still have. I mean, obviously, all these guys are not going to make the roster, but right now they have like 6 or 7 running backs in the mix. I mean, there's a lot of guys there. I think like you said, I don't know. I mean, it's funny. So in the beginning of the season, you had Mostert and Wilson were very similarly priced. And I feel like Mostert is kind of pulling away a little bit. Obviously, the rookie there is, I mean, he's the only long-term contract they have. So I feel like, and he's ridiculously fast. So he's a 10th rounder right now. Let's see, John has him at 27 and he's RB 39. And then Wilson is actually 54 and 54. So he's ranked exactly where he's going. Then we have, I forgot about Mostert. Mostert is RB 50. We've got Ahmed still there, down in RB 139. And then we even have Myles Gaskin is in the mix. And there's Alec Ingold is there too. Like it's a lot, but obviously those guys are probably not in the conversation for fantasy purposes. And then if you throw Dalvin Cook, or they could still sign, Kareem Hunt or Lenny. I mean, who knows? Like Mike McDaniel, he may not be done. I mean, I feel like, I don't know. I guess we see, right, how training camp progresses, I don't know.
And Zeke would be a great landing spot Miami.
Too, yeah.
Zeke's still a very good pass blocker. So if he gets brought in, it's very possible he could take some of that 2-down work. And Raheem Mostert, I think, will have a role as long as he's healthy. And that could just phase the rookie and Jeff Wilson out completely. So it's very possible.
It's tough to really, and then the good news about it, they're all double digits. So you're not investing anything major into any of these guys because it could all be shot. Like you said, they could bring in someone else and they could all fall off. So, they're all 10th round or higher or lower, higher. Yeah. I was like, what? Yeah, they're all 10th round or later in the draft. So, if you're going to roll the dice on the Miami, because I mean, listen, Miami is going to run the ball. And they ran the ball last year, and their offense, should be fairly good, hopefully. So, there are going to be fantasy components. We just have to kind of wait and see how it shakes out, which is, the whole reason for this podcast. It's just Murk.
So in best ball, my recommendation is to sprinkle them all in. And in redraft, my recommendation is to take Mostert at cost. I feel like he's very cheap and has RB2 upside. I know that I keep saying that, but Mostert was a very quality fantasy asset down the stretch last year. And I think that's going to carry over because all they did was add Achane, who's a good back, but I don't think that's going to completely nudge Mostert out of the equation at all. And we've learned with Mostert, he doesn't need 20 touches to put up fantasy stats.
He just needs to stay healthy, though. That's
exactly. So in redraft at his cost, I think he's valuable. I think you can trot him out as an RB3 or flex option in any given week and see what happens. And then in Dynasty, I'm definitely buying Devon Achane at cost. I think late first round is kind of where he's going, early second. I think that's very much worth going after.
Yeah.
So let's see. Our next team I wanted to talk about was New Orleans because I'm seeing Kendre Miller like catapult up draft boards right now. I keep seeing him go around the 7th round. Like I'm seeing him in redraft formats.
Oh, wow. I know that's rich. I mean, he's a 12th rounder still on Underdog, but that's rich for that situation. It's extremely, it's cloudy, and we have, unfortunately we have Alvin Kamara, we don't know what's going to happen legally with him. So he keeps, I mean, if he's in the mix and he's not suspended, I mean, he's a 9th rounder and
he's the value of the offseason.
He is. I mean, now granted, he's taken, his efficiency and his numbers have declined a bit from the old days. But listen, we know he's capable of a 6-touchdown game out of nowhere. So, but right now he's his ADP is RB 31, like I said, as a 9th rounder. Then you have, I mean, I know you mentioned rookie Miller, but you also have Jamaal Williams, and we can't really we can't dismiss him. I mean, no, listen, he had 17 touchdowns last year. That's not sustainable. We know that.
Sure.
But, he still is valuable there. The thing with him, though, is everyone's always like, oh, Williams is, a pass catcher. But the thing is, he actually had only more than 4 targets in only 15 of 90 games. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. Like, and hat tip to, God, who wrote that? It was an article I edited today. I think it was Matt Jones or it was Jace Abbey. One of the two new guys that we have, Matt Jones, Jace Abbey. They're great. They both wrote articles today, and I can't remember who it was, but I stole that stat from them because I was reading it and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting.
You know, last year he was mostly a goal line guy, right? He fell in the end zone 17 times, which was incredible. But you know, you've got him, and then we can't forget there's also Mr. Eno Benjamin is there as well.
Yeah, and Jamaal Williams to me, I know you just mentioned Eno Benjamin. I just wanted to piggyback a little on Jamaal Williams. Jamaal Williams, like, even if he's not good, he's enough for me to not draft Kendre Miller. Like, I'm not. Jamaal Williams is going to be the guy there, right? Like, Kendre Miller might get some touches, but they paid Jamaal Williams. They brought him in. If Kamara's not available, Williams is going to be at least the 1A, if not the 1. So the best you're hoping for with Kendre Miller is 1B production. And I don't quite understand the love that I'm seeing of that. I've been in 3 redraft. These are redraft, not best ball. Redraft drafts or mocks in the last couple of weeks, and he's gone 7th round once and 8th round twice. And that's early.
I'm looking at actually the one that you and I are in right now, and he went in the 7th.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that, like, he went above like AJ Dillon, Rashaad White, like DeAndre Swift. That's crazy. Just to back up, it was Matt Jones that wrote that article about Jamaal Williams. It just came out today. It was actually an article about Alvin Kamara, but it came out today on 4for4. It's a player profile, and so check it out if you're interested in that in Kamara. But I think it's it's going to be interesting. I mean, and the other thing about Miller, by the way, you know how many passes he caught in college?
How many? Oh, wow.
2 his entire college career.
I'm out.
So, and once again, Matt Jones, that was from him too. But yeah, he caught two passes in college. So I can't imagine. I mean, I'm sure he can catch the ball. I mean, he is a football player and all. However, he obviously wasn't utilized that way for a reason. So once again, for as rich as he's getting, I'm out as well. But I'll take Jamaal Williams. No problem in the 11th. And listen, if Kamara continues to slide, I have no problem taking him there either. Now, I would assume we're going to hear about, if there is a suspension, or I'm not sure what the timeline is for that. I know it was.
Yeah, it's beyond me.
Last year it was a thing, and we waited all season, and nothing happened, and then here we are again, and it might be the same situation where nothing happens, and we wait all year. So, yeah.
I also think Derek Carr helps both those backs. Like, So.
I'm interested. That offense in general is interesting to me. There's a lot there. As we've talked about. I've been taking Juwan Johnson. I've been taking Taysom Hill. I think there's a lot of pieces in that offense that should be interesting if Derek Carr can kind of, But listen, he's better than people give him credit to, as far as just maintaining it and giving us fantasy goodness from his weapons.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna say this. Alvin Kamara is my favorite 0 running back target right now.
Okay.
The 0 running back strategy, it banks on attrition in general, right? You're banking on the idea that the running back situation is so much in flux. It doesn't cost you that much. You pay a double digit. I think the earliest I've had to take him is the late 9th round. And so it doesn't cost you much to take him. So if you end up having to drop him in a redraft league later on, it's really no skin off your back, right? So the potential for him to exceed his ADP makes him a target for me. I don't want to count on him in most cases, but in a 0 running back league, when I'm expecting to play the waivers and I'm kind of stockpiling guys like him and Samaje Perine and Antonio Gibson, who I know you like, those are guys that I'm targeting. And I think Kamara is definitely worth it in that situation.
Agreed.
So kind of take both at cost, right? Take Jamaal and the Kamara at cost. Take
Jamaal and Kamara at cost, and we're both kind of passing on Miller for now.
Okay. Look at me down on rookies. Look at this.
I think I have a few shares from before the draft, but I don't think I've taken much of Miller since April.
Yeah, and his ADP on Underdog is, a little more reasonable. He's going around Jaylen Warren and Take Bigsby, and that's to me, that's kind of where he belongs. Jerick McKinnon is still inexplicably going around that point. But.
Yeah, he's super. Well, I see, but I also feel like Bigsby and who's the other one you mentioned, Warren. Like Jaylen Warren. But both those guys are direct backups. Like Miller's got 2 guys in front of him still. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I'd rather give me Bigsby or Warren there.
I like that. I think we're gonna talk about Houston at some point today, but I want to talk about Devon Singletary too, also going around in that situation. But let's go to Philly. The Philadelphia Eagles. I'm seeing all kinds of Kenneth Gainwell love from beat writers and everything
Really?
of that sort, which I know is kind of something we do in general. Like every year, we all love Kenneth Gainwell. It's what's happened the last 2 years, and
Mm-hmm.
we all get excited, and then he just kind of fills a
Mm-hmm.
occasional role. He did have a pretty strong role in the playoffs. He got lots of touches in the playoffs, which was significant for him. Obviously, Miles Sanders is gone. They bring in Rashaad Penny. What do you make of this Philly backfield? Are you buying any of this Gainwell love? Do you think Penny is still the guy to own? Somebody else? What do you think?
Well, I do like Gainwell because he's still cheap. I mean, he's a 16th rounder. So, yeah, I think so. But I think, yeah, you've got Swift and Penny, and it's tough to really discern. I think both Swift and Penny, I feel like are RB3s. I just don't know that you can kind of go any higher on either of those guys. I wish we could, and I'd love to, but I feel like they're going to cannibalize each other. I don't think one of them is going to be the lead back, and I don't even know if it's going to be a 1A 1B or like a whatever. I don't know. I think they're both RB3s. Swift, is more of in the past, a passing compliment, I guess, to Penny. But if either one of them goes down, now that's a different conversation, right? And they both have I mean, obviously every player has the ability to go down,
Sure.
but those two are, they're up there in the injury, riddled department. So I think both of them are fine. I mean, right now Swift is a 7th rounder and Penny's a 10th rounder. So I think both of those guys are fine to take, knowing that you're really looking at an RB3, RB2 at the most. Gainwell, I like you said, 16th rounder. I'm fine. I'm not opposed to Boston Scott either in the 18th, because they'll throw, he'll get a random game with 3 touchdowns out of nowhere, so in best ball, of course, I'm not opposed to throwing that, but I don't know, in redraft, I might kind of stay away from both Swift and Penny. I'm a little nervous of that weekly like mental gymnastics of, do I start? I mean, I'm not talking about taking both. I mean, either one.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you'd be sitting there staring at Swift every week and wondering if you should start him over whoever, Rashaad White, and it would just be super frustrating. So I think I'm going to stay away from this backfield in general for redraft, but I'll sprinkle in, all of them really for best ball. Probably primarily Gainwell, just because he's the cheapest, and he may get some good spike weeks along with Scott.
Yeah, Gainwell's been the healthiest over the last 2 years, so it's definitely tempting. I'm with you. Redraft, Gainwell is the one I'm taking. In best ball, I'm sprinkling in all of them, but I'm not really going after anyone. And I'm with you. I'm staying away from Penny and Swift. It's just too scary. And Swift, it's funny you mentioned staring at him and you're wondering about the lineup. I did that all last year with Swift. I'm not doing it again.
I did too. I had him in one of my home leagues, and he was very, very, it's frustrating. It's like like I said, the mental gymnastics of staring at his name, and then you pick him on the wrong week. You pick him one week and nothing happens, and then the next week you're like, all right, fine, I'll put you in, and then he gets you like 1.3 points.
Yeah, I'm out. No, I'm with you. Minaj Gayer, thank you very much for listening. Wants to know who we think the RB2 and RB3 are in PPR leagues after McCaffrey. Very concerned about Austin Eckler, used less in Moore's offense. Also, they say they're going to use Joshua Kelly more. So I think they're going to keep using Eckler a lot. I don't think that's going to really go down too much. The one thing about Eckler is he's been primed for a touchdown regression for like 3 straight years. He keeps scoring, but I don't know. He's probably still my RB2 in PPR. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah. I'd say Eckler, and then probably, I mean, I know probably Bijan, even though he scares me. You know how I feel about him. But I would say, probably, I would say Bijan. As far as before we even start, as far as just opportunity, I feel like he's the other guy. So I would say, after McCaffrey, I'd go Eckler and then Robinson.
Yeah, and I'd probably go Nick Chubb third, just because I trust his production. It's not, I don't even necessarily think he's going to be the RB3. I'm just confident he's not going to be the RB12.
No, and he never is. So, he's there, and then Yeah, I mean, exactly. That would be he'd be
I used
my,
to
my
I used to feel that way about Zeke too. Zeke was always like he was never the RB1. He was always like the RB4, 5, 3 or whatever. But I'd always take him over the RB1 guys
Listen,
because I'm like I know he's gonna
Zeke
be
had a
good.
good he had a good run,
Yep.
and it's sad to see where he's gone. It's like he's like the
Mhm.
joke now, and and he just falls so far, and it's sad. But he was extremely frustrating for people
Mhm.
the last couple years who drafted him, hoping that he would get that role and get and stay healthy, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, Chubb's my new guy like that. And then Derrick Henry's the one I'm scared of. Are you buying Henry again this year? Because you and I always buy Henry, and he's just scary because one year it's not gonna be there, and you just don't know
Yeah,
when.
it's weird. This year so far, in at least in best ball, I just haven't really been in a spot. I don't think I've drafted him this year at all. Maybe once or twice, but it's tough to kind of gauge where to put him. I mean, when you look at, yeah, like you said, it's like you don't want to fade Henry because he's not fadeable, but one of these years he will be because
Yep.
as we all know, Father Time is undefeated, all that stuff. It's gonna happen. Uh, but that offense is just not going to be great.
Mhm.
So it may be all him again. They may run him into the ground, like, and then he may be, hurt by week 8 or 9 and not be able to get back out there because he had so much volume. But I'd like to sprinkle more in, actually, to be honest. I don't
Yeah.
have as much Henry as I should
Well, he's
because,
going high, so it's not, it's
well,
not easy
yeah,
to get him. So
no, I know, but he's not going as high as he used to.
true.
So I feel like this year he's a little bit cheaper, but I just always end up when I'm there preferring to take a receiver, when I'm in that spot. It's like I'd rather end up with, Adams or Cup or whatever when I'm faced with where Henry would go that I just don't take him. But I need to start mixing him in because I don't think we can really. I don't think we're ready to count him out. I think he's
Yeah.
got at least one more in him.
Yeah. I'm with you. I need to draft a little bit more of him. Redraft especially, I'll probably end up with more because everybody gets scared of him, right? So I've seen him drop to the second round in redraft and
Yeah, I mean it's
early
kind of.
third even. So yeah. So
I mean he's like I mentioned the one we're in right now, this mock. I mean he's at the end of the second.
yeah.
I mean, that's nuts,
It's a good
actually.
spot. It's a good spot to grab him. Speaking of guys who have dropped a lot, let's go to Seattle, where Kenneth Walker is now available in the late fourth, early fifth round, after being a late first round pick before the draft. Obviously, they drafted Zach Charbonnet, who's going at pick 102 on Underdog right now. How are you approaching the Seattle backfield in best ball and in redraft?
I know you're not going to love this because I know you're a big Ken Walker guy, but I'm going more on the Charbonnet side of this. I think he's already been turning heads at camp, according to the beat writers and whatnot. And Walker has struggled in the past as a pass catcher, so I feel like Charbonnet is a 9th rounder, Walker's a 5th. Now, still, if Walker is the guy and in a Pete Carroll offense, 5th is cheap. If that's
Yep.
where it ends up going, but I do like Charbonnet in the 9th. I've been grabbing him as much as I can just because I know it's camp talk, but he has been impressing. So and we liked him coming in to the draft anyway.
Mhm.
So I do like that. And then, as you know, of course, I have to bring up Kenny McIntosh because I keep
Yeah.
drafting him, and John still hasn't ranked him. But he is. I mean, but people are. I can't be the only one drafting him. He is.
I've got some. I've got some Kenny McIntosh.
He is. He is right now RB92 in the 18th round, and DJ Dallas is RB90. So I mean, people are taking McIntosh as much as they're taking DJ Dallas, and like I've said, Pete Carroll's going to run whoever's healthy. So if those guys, if Walker or Charbonnet get hurt, or McIntosh may, get his chance to get in there. So I think all Seattle running backs are always in play because for some reason, I don't know if it's the training staff or the way they run them, they all get hurt every year, for different periods of time.
True.
And then you end up having, like a Travis Homer, TJ Dallas tandem at some point in the season, in years past. Homer's gone now, but so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. I'm buying both. Like I like Obviously, I love Ken Walker. Ken Walker, if he was still going in the first or second round, I'd be worried. But now that he's going in the fifth round, he was so good last year. And a lot like Raheem Mostert, he's not someone who needs 20 touches. He's a home run hitter. So he could get 12 carries and Charbonnet could get 12 carries and they could both have solid fantasy outings. So if you're drafting him in the fifth round, I love Ken Walker. I'm perfectly fine taking him around where people are taking Jahmyr Gibbs and Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones. I think that's a good spot for him, and I think he has a lot of upside. And of course, Charbonnet, you're not spending any money on him. So if you're taking him around guys like AJ Dillon and Samaje Perine, I'd say why not? Like he's a talented guy. So I actually think Seattle, both those guys are appropriately priced in any format, and I'm interested in all of them.
Yeah.
I'm definitely buying Ken Walker in Dynasty if anyone's selling because he was ungettable 2 months ago, and now people are kind of shopping him a little bit. So if you can buy him, then I think that's worth doing. Hi guys, thank you for joining us. We got a good old who'd you rather for us here, Jen.
Nice.
Who'd you rather, Tyler Allgeier or Elijah Mitchell?
Ooh, more standalone value.
And by standalone, I'm assuming he means this assumes that Christian McCaffrey and Bijan Robinson stay healthy.
Right. Yeah. For me, I actually like them both. I don't dislike either one. I think they're both going to get play. Maybe Mitchell by a little bit. I feel like that offense, McCaffrey's going to get a lot, but they also need to preserve him a little bit too. Especially if they're going to make a late season run or a postseason run, they can't run him into the ground. It's not physically. It is physically possible because he's a beast, but at the same time, they are going to need to throw Mitchell in there. And Mitchell, if healthy, can certainly make plays. I don't hate Tyler Allgeier either, but if I had to pick, I'm going Mitchell.
Jen, I agree with you on every single point you just made for the reasons that you made them. I have nothing to add to that. Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly the way that I would approach that as well.
All right.
I was going to talk Washington. I think we can skip Washington. I agree with you. I love Antonio Gibson. That's kind of where I am on that. Anything you want to say about Brian Robinson?
No, Brian Robinson is fine. Like he's cheap too. He's a 9th rounder. He's going, his ADP is RB 34. So, he's a RB3 as well. So, I don't dislike him, but I think if you're going in any format that gives points for receptions, I would go Gibson if I had to pick, but, it's tough, right? Last year, Gibson got shot, unfortunately. And so we may not have seen the best. I'm sorry, Robinson.
Yep.
We may not have seen the best Brian Robinson. So, last year Gibson appeared to be the more dynamic running back of the two. Just like comparing both of them, Gibson looked better. But Robinson might have a good season, so I'm not opposed to him in the 9th. He's relatively inexpensive. Given if I had to pick, because obviously I'm not going to have two on the same team, I'm going to pick Gibson, but I'll sprinkle some Robinson in as well.
Yeah, in redraft, it's kind of same answer.
Yes. Redraft, like I said, if it's redraft and it's just one team, I'm going Gibson. But if I'm there and Robinson is there and he slipped a little bit and people, I would take him in redraft. But as my RB3 or 4, I'm not going to, target him. I don't think he's going to end up any better. We don't really know what we're getting with that offense. Washington is it's a big old question mark of the whole thing. So.
And KC's offense under Bieniemy obviously hasn't been really lucrative at the running back, or at least not consistently and predictably lucrative on a week-to-week basis at the running back position, really since Kareem Hunt left. So, it's possible we see something similar here in Washington. I like Gibson though. Gibson's in redraft. If Gibson's my RB3, I feel pretty good. If Brian Robinson's my RB3, I feel a little worried.
Yeah, I'd say more of an RB4. And it depends. Right now, Robinson is still being drafted before Gibson, at least in underdog. I don't know how it's going to shake out come August when we're all drafting home leagues and redraft. Yeah. Training camp is going to have a lot to do with it too. We'll see. Yeah.
Tends to change things. All right, let's talk. Those are all my clear. These are really murky and driving me crazy backfield.
Yeah. You nailed all of them.
Here's the not Merc, but the pond needs a little skimming category. These are teams I'm watching you teams. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna start with Baltimore because I was very much solidly on the J.K. Dobbins train last year. I was believing him when he talked about how healthy he was and believing the Baltimore offense, play callers saying that they were going to have J.K. Dobbins more in the offense, that they were going to feature him early and often. I don't know if Dobbins came back too soon, and that's why he struggled to stay healthy over the first half of the season, but definitely wasn't the season I think anybody was hoping for from J.K. Dobbins. And we're starting to hear the same stuff again this year, how Dobbins is healthy, healthier than he's ever been, but they still have Gus Edwards, and they're getting lots of stuff from undrafted free agent Keaton Mitchell, all sorts of change of pace rumors and things of that sort. So how are you approaching this Baltimore backfield? Do you think it's worth investing that 5th round pick it takes to grab J.K. Dobbins?
I have not been. As we've discussed on this podcast several times, I don't know that I trust the offense as a whole there. I'm just not ready to invest draft capital in Baltimore, especially in the 5th round. If it's not Lamar Jackson, I'm not drafting anybody that high. So for me, it's more of I'm on the Gus bus in the 16th round. If anything there. And then you have Justice Hill too in the 18th, but yeah. I don't know. I think, I think I'm out on Dobbins. I may change my tune, we'll see as the season goes on, but right now on June 12th, I am out.
and I feel like Justice Hill is the fetch character. Like we keep waiting for Justice Hill to happen, and it just doesn't happen. By the way, is Mean Girls too old of a reference nowadays?
No,
that's like 20 years now, right?
It's had this whole resurgence. It's on Broadway. Are you kidding me? It's like, oh yeah, it's totally.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, it's had a whole resurgence for this generation. Your daughters will be into it before you know it.
Oh, good. I feel good. I need Mean Girls to be in my life. Yes, that's like phenomenal Rachel McAdams. So
yes, and it's like I said, it's on Broadway right now. It's it's had a whole thing. It's back.
Nice. So let's talk Denver. Let's talk your Broncos. We talked a little bit about them when we were talking Dalvin Cook. Right now, let's assume that Dalvin Cook doesn't end up in Denver. What's the inflection point for you on Javonte Williams? Because obviously there's a lot up in the air with him, but the talent is there.
The talent is definitely there. I feel in my gut that they're going to sign somebody else. If not Cook, somebody else. I just feel it. I feel like Sean Payton is not going to be comfy going in with a still recovering Javonte Williams and then just P. Ryan. I just feel like, and that's all they have, I think. So I don't know. I feel like they're going to sign somebody else. I may be wrong because I know Mike Boone is gone. Latavius Murray is gone. I don't know. Maybe they drafted a rookie that I'm not thinking of, but I don't think they have anybody else. So
the only guy they brought in was Tony Jones, who they used to have in New Orleans under Sean Payton. So maybe
that guy that we all fell for a couple years ago. He was like the sleeper. We all fell for him, and he did nothing. So I feel like and the thing is that both of them, Williams and P. Ryan, are pretty close in ADP. I mean, Javonte is an 8th rounder and P. Ryan's a 9th rounder. Javonte is, RB 29 and P. Ryan is RB 34. So they're both in that, RB2, late RB3, or late RB2, early RB3 range. So I think Javonte scares me a little bit. I mean, and I'm sure that's, everybody has kind of similar feelings. I mean, you've got a guy that was supposed to be back and now he's not quite back, and they're saying maybe he'll be back. And I mean, the talent is clearly there, but he's coming off a pretty big injury. P. Ryan, limited moments of goodness, with the Bengals, but at the same time has never been a lead back. So I'll take them both. They're both, somewhat still affordable. I mean, they're going where they should be. But I don't love clicking that button for that. P. Ryan probably more than Javonte just because he's cheaper, but I still feel that they're going to head into the season with somebody else too.
I think it's very likely. Can we just will this to be the Dalvin Cook landing spot? I want that.
I'm down, and I'm down if they throw Lenny in there too, or whoever else, like Kareem Hunt. Sure. There's definitely plenty of room, and that offense needs, something, right? I mean,
Kareem Hunt with Sean Payton,
right? Ooh. I mean, it could happen. They're all there.
That sounds I'm going to end up drafting Kareem Hunt. I don't want to draft Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, well, listen, I hear you on that. We've had many a discussion of that, but
very true.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Denver, I'm kind of staying away from them, but you're right. Best ball, like at cost, makes sense. Redraft, I think they're going to drive you crazy. So,
yeah.
So I'll probably leave them alone. Let's talk about Green Bay because Aaron Jones keeps delivering, but we also see AJ Dillon kind of slowly cutting into that production a little bit. But AJ Dillon isn't really doing it in a way that the fantasy community wants him to, right? He's not really putting up big fantasy numbers or anything like that. We just keep hearing the rumors of Aaron Jones's demise. So what are your thoughts? How are you approaching the Green Bay backfield?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I've been taking Aaron Jones a little bit here and there. I actually took AJ Dillon this morning in that mock that we are both in. I believe that is my first share this entire offseason. So I'm kind of coming back around like, okay, yes, he hasn't performed exactly as we would like him to be, but this is a different offense. They've got a quarterback with very small, limited, action experience, if you will. So
True.
it's not
a lot
Aaron
of
Rodgers.
unknowns.
Yeah, it's not Aaron Rodgers' team anymore. So, if Aaron Jones, I feel like Aaron Jones is in a good spot. I mean, he's cheap, and if Aaron Jones can still be Aaron Jones, he's going to be, right now he's RB17, and he can certainly finish as a fantasy RB1. If he does get that work. If Jordan Love struggles, they may need these guys, both of them. So I'm not opposed to either one. Dillon's a 9th rounder right now, RB33. Sure. I don't know about redraft. Yeah, maybe redraft, as some depth on my bench.
Yeah, RB4. I like that. Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I'll draft both of them at cost. I think they both make sense where they're going. It's a backfield I think is still going to be mostly Aaron Jones, but I think AJ Dillon would be valuable enough to roster at least. So I got one more team I want to talk about. I kind of hinted at it. Houston. So they bring in Devon Singletary, who is one of the most underappreciated players in fantasy football because he's produced. He hasn't been great, but he's always drafted in double-digit rounds.
Yeah.
And for that kind of production, he's always like fringe RB2, RB3 numbers, right? So a valuable asset. Houston brings him in after Dameon Pierce has a solid rookie season, but faded down the stretch. Do you think this is going to be a tandem backfield? Do you think one wins out over the other? Are you interested at all?
You know how I feel about Houston. The whole thing, they just give me the ick, all of it, all of them. But no, I've taken Pierce and I've taken Singletary. So I can't pretend like I have not taken any Houston players because I have. I don't know that we can really count on any of it. I mean, Pierce is, a 6th rounder, so he's kind of expensive, but if he is the lead back, then that's fine. But I like Singletary in the 13th. I mean, I don't know how you can't, I feel like he's going to get more usage than people realize. They also have Mike Boone, and they have someone named Xavier Valade that is being drafted.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's right now he's RB 136 as an 18th rounder, but he is. I noticed him today when I was looking at the underdog ADP. I was like, oh, I don't know what a Xavier Valade is, but people are drafting him, so maybe we need to find out who he is.
I love it. It's related to a Donald Parham. That's what it is.
Yes.
They also have Dario Gabolale, who's not a fantasy viable player, but he's one of the quietly, and people don't really realize this, he's quietly one of the best pass blocking running backs in the league. So I think he's going to make the roster and get snaps, even though he's probably not going to get the kind of workload that we hope. I wonder if the new head coach there, DeMeco Ryans, comes in and says, you know what, we always had kind of a multiple back system. We liked having that kind of approach, ride the hot hands kind of approach. I wonder if he's going to bring that with him, and we're going to see both of them, in which case Dameon Pierce is way expensive and Devon Singletary is a bargain. So that's how I'm approaching it. I probably won't have any Dameon Pierce because of the cost.
Yeah, I think I have a little bit that I've taken throughout. I've sprinkled in, but I don't have a ton. I mean, I feel like his ADP has gone up a little bit. I feel like he was a little bit cheaper earlier on earlier this offseason, but maybe I'm wrong.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to hit, I had a Who'd You Rather. We're going to rapid fire Who'd You Rather, and then we'll get going for the night. So,
okay.
So I want to start. We already talked about Tyler Allgeier a little bit, but I wanted to know these are all players who are going around the same
can't
time.
See the score, and it's driving me crazy. You know why? Because
Yeah.
these are readers, and so I can't see my TV, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I just want to score, and I can't see it. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's halftime, so
I
nothing
know,
will
but
change
do you know?
right now.
I don't even know the score.
I do, but just in case that I will message it to you, just in case somebody is watching it is DVRing it or something. So.
Okay. Actually, you don't have to message because we're almost done. I'll be good. I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off. Let's go.
No, that's okay. It's important stuff, Jet. This is important stuff.
It is very important stuff.
So we were talking about Tyler Allgeier. How about Tyler Allgeier and Jaylen Warren? Because they cost about the same. So if you need one of those on your roster, whether best ball or redraft, which one are you opting for?
I am Jaylen Warren.
Ah, okay. Why is that?
I like him. I mean, first of all, there's no competition for the backup role. He is the backup. He was second last year in yards per route run in his rookie class behind Breece Hall. So, he showed that he can be the guy if he needs to be the guy. I mean, Najee Harris is the guy. We know that.
Yeah.
But I think Warren has decent standalone value there in that offense. So I don't hate Allgeier, as I said earlier, but in the would you rather, I go Warren.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jay Lizard, yes, addressing the important time of the Warren Commission. Jaylen Warren has a fan base, and he had about 100 touches last year, something like that. So I'd like to see him find the end zone a little bit more if he's going to be that kind of change of pace back. But I like it too. I agree with you. I like Warren over Allgeier in this situation. Next one, who'd you rather, Jerome Ford or Chuba Hubbard?
Ford all day until Dalvin Cook ends up in Cleveland. But Ford all day. Listen, right now he's the lead back because Chubb is sidelined. Hubbard is fine, but he's behind Sanders, who could see more passing work. So I'm all about Ford.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Ford is going to have a role on that team. And now I like Hubbard. I like Hubbard too. This one is a close one for me, and one where if I'm drafting several best ball leagues, I probably end up with like 60-40 shares of Ford over Hubbard. But I like both of them. No, I'm with you. Now, here's a couple rookies for you going around the same time, both late round dart throws, Chase Brown or Tyjae Spears.
Well, the answer to this one is Travion Williams. But because that is who I'm taking in that spot as far as the Bengal backup. If I had to pick between the two, I would say Brown. Spears, I mean, I just feel like, and I think we've talked about this before, like the Titans backup just doesn't happen. Like as long as it was Darrington Evans, as long as Henry's healthy, that backup is not they're just not going to put up fantasy points. Mm-hmm. I feel like Brown or Travion Williams, whichever kind of ends up winning that role, even if Mixon, they're still going to get work. So I'm going with the Bengal.
Excellent. I'm with you, especially with all the question marks around Joe Mixon, and it seems like he's falling out of favor in general. So also he got paid, and when running backs get paid, about 2 years later, they're done. So
right.
Leonard Fournette or Kareem Hunt. This is the last one I have for you. Two guys currently unemployed, but both still have some potential. Just curious which one you'd be adding to the back end of your roster.
I don't know. I mean, I know that's
you can throw Zeke in there too. If you
know that's not the point of this exercise. Is I don't know, but I don't really dislike. Like, I'll take any of them because I feel like they're all going to have jobs at some point this season. Yep. Whether Fournette, Hunt, and Zeke, they're all going to be on a team. Zeke, he's probably going to end up back in Dallas. I mean, that's kind of been the rumor that Jerry's going to. Which is just gross.
It makes sense though.
I know, but it's like, come on. But I think, if I had to pick, maybe Hunt, but I feel like they're all kind of in similar sitch.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm just going to go with what you said. I'm good with that. So, yeah, maybe Hunt, but meh.
Yeah, maybe Hunt, but meh.
All right. Well, I think that does it. I think we thoroughly went through the murkiest situations in the league, and it was fun. Thank you, Jen. Always a pleasure. Any final thoughts or plugs before we go?
No, go Nuggets. That's all I got.
All right, listeners, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Jen Akins NFL and at 2guysbrandon. Thanks so much for checking us out and have a good day.